Phillip Island circuit in Australia. You can see it all in one go there. The Bass straight behind, the surf coming in, the lake in the middle. Well over 50,000 people are here. The grid lining up. This should be an absolute cracker. Can Pedrosa recover from the problems he had this morning?
This is Dani Pedrosa's third pole position in 2007, and back-to-back poles for him now, of course. He took pole position for the Japanese race, and the first Honda rider to do that this season, because it's been a very tough year for the Japanese factory. And as you say, Nick, no better place to watch MotoGP than here at Phillip Island. A little way to the camera from Dani Pedrosa, but he's always very, very focused once he gets on board that bike, and I'm sure he's focused on trying to take his second victory of the season.
Now down here on the grid with a very special person, Casey Stoner. How good is this? World champion in front of your home Grand Prix, and a dynamite warm-up too as well this morning.
Yeah, we had a really good warm-up. Everything seems to be going really well for the race. We'll just have to see how it pans out, but I mean, yeah, it's very nice. It's very relaxing coming here as world champion and not having to stress so much, so I can really enjoy this race.
Well, at the beginning of the year, you would have thought this was the last thing possible, wouldn't it? But you've turned it into reality. That's proving what dreams can do.
No, I mean, you know, the only thing I thought possible at the beginning of the season was to podium or maybe win here if we had a good race. But, you know, we've already done the championship, and now we've also got the chance to win the race, so we'll just have to see how it goes.
All right, go out and enjoy yourself, mate. Good on you.
Will do. Thank you.
Casey Stoner has qualified third fastest. He's on the front row of the grid. Enormous support for him. Sandwiched between Pedrosa and Stoner, though, Valentino Rossi. Here is the man of the moment. And you hosted the Do in Melbourne on Tuesday evening, Gavin. Terrific response to his success.
Really good to see the motor. It's not just great for Casey Stoner, but great for MotoGP. It's had a real boost because of his championship victory. People who didn't know about MotoGP now know about it, and that's why so many people have turned up here today, and that's why so many people are starting to watch it again on television in Australia. And great to see Casey Stoner smiling. He looks very relaxed, as he has done all weekend. He's attended the fans, he's done signing sessions, he's spoken to the media all week. It's been really busy for him, but he looks so much more relaxed, and you can't blame him. He's got the championship in the bag and a chance to take another victory. His first win, it would be, though, in front of his home fans. He is desperate to do it.
Yeah, not a great record at Phillip Island. Sixth last year, he rode well last year, a 125cc pole also.
Well, I've got someone very special with me at the moment as far as Australian motorsport goes. Australian touring car champion, 2 times Bathurst winner Craig Lowndes. Good to see you coming down to support the two wheels.
Yeah, thank you. It's great. It's been a couple of years since we've been down here, and it is nice to come down. The weather's beautiful today, and it'll be interesting because I think the lead into today has been quite cool and overcast, but today it's quite sunny.
So I know you're standing next to Chris Vermeulen. He's a bit back on the grid, but he is one of the dark horses as well.
Well, it's fantastic. You know, we all support the Aussies, and Chris comes from near home up in Queensland, so it's nice to come down and support the two wheels, as you said, because we race here in 4 wheels, and it's completely different. We don't have the top speed as the bikes, but the cornering speed's quite nice.
All right, then enjoy it. Thanks, Craig.
Thank you very much.
In fourth place, I'm not sure whether it was Pete Doherty or Nicky Hayden who was lining up there with that.
Where did he get that hat?
Where did you get that hat, indeed? Alongside him on that second row of the grid with Loris Capirossi, and a big smile to the camera from him. Of course, he's got a win in the pocket for this season from that Japanese race just 3 weeks ago in those very testing conditions. There have been testing conditions all weekend, but that's completely out the window. Most of what they've tried this weekend has changed for this race because temperatures are up a lot, and yeah, there we can see down on the grid with Chris Vermeulen is one of the ministers for tourism, Tim Holding.
I think you'll be pleased. It's a major event, major people coming, and they've got a world champion. He's done a good job, that guy, hasn't he?
Now, speaking of world champions, I've got one with me that's won a couple, but he's Casey Stoner's teammate, Loris Capirossi. Pretty good qualifying. You're pretty happy with it, and you're probably even happier that you woke up and saw sunshine today and you knew that there was going to be a good chance of a dry track.
Yeah, sure. You know, we are lucky about the weather. I think this is the best day after 2 not really good. You know, I am quite confident for the race. I make a really good setting on bike, and we try to do our best today.
Well, you always try and do your best, but coming off that back of the win in Motegi, that must be a good little confidence boost to go here. And you're right amongst the thick of it here on this part of the grid.
Yeah, well, to start in the second row, not too bad. For sure, I come from the good weekend, Motegi, but my confidence is 100% in that moment, and I can try to do my best, and we'll see after the race what happens.
Okay, thanks, Loris.
Thank you.
So that was Loris Capirossi in 5th on the grid. We saw Randy de Punier briefly on the outside of the 2nd row. Now Alex Barros, he's had a good weekend, hasn't he, Nick? Lines up in 7th position at the front of the 3rd row, but he has had a very, very good session. And the Ducati has a bit of power down here, and if they can get in slipstreams, they will draft past people.
Yeah, a lot of experience here as well. Of course, rode here in the World Superbikes last year, as well as riding in the MotoGP races for all the years before. Had a great race here with Rossi.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say. What a fantastic race that was. Was that 2002?
Yeah, I think it was the start of the 4 strokes, wasn't it? He rode quite brilliantly. Shinya Nakano is a best position of the season. 8th fastest on that Konica Minolta Honda. 7th in 05. It's best ever result for Kawasaki at Phillip Island. And a big time for him. And it's a very, very difficult time for all the Japanese riders out here on the grid, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And with Norikabe having passed away last weekend, the whole of the MotoGP community came out in force, en masse, onto the grid earlier on to hold a minute's silence for Norikabe's memory. He will be sorely missed by everyone involved in Grand Prix. A fantastic person, a fantastic rider, a real hero of mine, I have to say, and a real sad loss to the world of motorsport. Here's Sylvain Guintoli as we move on, who will hold that Yamaha flame aloft today. He rode brilliantly in Japan, didn't he, to 4th position. Almost snatched his first podium as well, and he's ridden well as well. Another top 10 start for him. That's the 4th time this year he started in the top 10, you know, Nick.
He's beginning to look a very, very talented MotoGP rider, isn't he? And fully justified his place in the championship next year, as this man has. Ant West, 2008 contract in that back pocket of his leathers for Kawasaki. He was going to give everything up after the race in Barcelona, and look at those nice, consistent positions for him. And Ant West fully deserves his chance. It's a big, big day for him and his family after all the hard work and graft they put in to put him where he is.
Definitely, they really have fought their way, as Ant has, onto the MotoGP grid, and he lines up in 10th position at the head of the 4th row.
Now I'm just in front of Anthony West with Alex Barros, who's got plenty of good memories of this place. And another one, you're not too far off the start now, and plenty of good memories for you as well.
Yeah, I love this track, the atmosphere, the place, everything is very great here. So I hope I can do well. The weekend to go not so bad in the both conditions, so I'm fit for the race. The bike, the choice, the tire, I think it should be the best one. So I'm quite confident.
All right, all the best. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
This is Colin Edwards, of course, Valentino Rossi's teammate. He's qualified 11th fastest. Previous winner here in the World Superbike Championship. Likes Phillip Island. Having a bit of a tough time at the moment. Not so bad in qualifying. He'd really like to go out with a bang because he's going to join the Tech 3 Yamaha team. And the current World Superbike champion, of course, James Toseland, in the team next season.
Yeah, some people have seen that as a demotion, but I think Colin just really sees it as a step aside, really, because at the end of the day, you know, it's people... so I just wondered what was going on. I think this is the national anthem being sung. I wasn't quite sure whether it was. Couldn't quite hear it. Oh, it is, yes. We move further on down the grid, and yeah, just saying about Colin Edwards, he will get still the same material as he's getting at the moment. So providing that he's got the right tyres on board, and that's a whole nother kettle of fish we won't get into at this moment, then he should do well. Marco Melandri is our reigning champion of the Phillip Island circuit, isn't he?
Certainly is. As we said earlier, he's the only 125, 250 and MotoGP winner here in Australia. Won the race quite brilliantly last year in the very difficult conditions. Had a tough time in qualifying. Marco Melandri's 12th fastest, so he's going to start from the 4th row of the grid. Of course, he joins Casey Stoner at Ducati next season.
Carlos Checa lines up in 13th spot at the head of the 5th row of the grid. And Checa, he's a wily rider. He's experienced as anyone on this MotoGP grid, but he will be making way next season. He's going to go to World Superbikes and have a crack at that, see if he can get some more wins under his belt, see if he can take that Superbike Championship, and he's going to battle hard for that. So only 3 more rounds, 3 more races, we're going to see Carlos Checa involved in MotoGP. We're going to see much, much more of this man, John Hopkins. He's had a very, very decent season. He won't be happy with what happened in Motegi. He won't be happy with his qualifying position of 14th, but he's been impressive this year. And battling for 4th with his teammate Chris Vermeulen and Marco Melandri, all of them within 8 points of each other.
This is Makoto Tamada, and has a smile, but I think Makoto Tamada more saddened perhaps than anybody else by the death of his great friend Norik Abe in that road accident just 7 days ago, Tokyo in Japan. A very difficult time for Makoto Tamada, but he's out there doing, well, it's the best possible tribute to a friend, isn't it? Going out there and racing. So nice to see the safety car go round and no spray coming up from the tyres or the wheels. It's dry, it's a little bit windy, but it promises to be a tremendous 27-lap race. Chris Vermeulen in those, well, memory jerking, that's I think a understatement, leathers worn by the late Barry Sheene. But Suzuki have had their problems here at Phillip Island. He's qualified 16th fastest. John Hopkins is qualified 14th fastest, his teammate. And they're going to struggle to get anywhere near the podium, I think, to be brutally honest.
It could be very, very difficult for them. The changing conditions may help them slightly, but it's been a tough weekend all round for Suzuki, so I would be very surprised if they were battling for those top positions. Now, Chaz Davies has his second ride in MotoGP. He's taken over from Alex Hoffman for the last 3 rounds of the season, and he's not been too bad at all. Had a couple of spills, hasn't he? But I think he's been very, very impressive, and I know the team are impressed with what he's done. They're talking about him having a possible test role for Ducati for next season, so Ducati must like what they see as well.
Let's hope so. Tony Elias, again, still just about recovered from that horrendous accident in Assen. Rode very, very well, didn't he, in Japan, finished in 3rd place, but he this weekend has struggled a little bit, as has Curtis Roberts, but I think we're full of admiration for Curtis Roberts. He's battling on really against the odds. It's not easy for a man without a great deal of MotoGP experience, but he's stuck at it, as has the team. We just wish them better stuff next year, and we really hope they will be with us in MotoGP next season.
The front row of the grid. The 2007 world champion Casey Stoner sits on the outside, and what destiny awaits him here today?
So, almost perfect conditions. It's dry, that's the most important thing. It's 27 laps of this magnificent circuit here at Phillip Island in Australia. It's round 16 of the championship. Oh, what a front row.
Dani Pedrosa lines up in pole. Alongside him, the other 2 men who, well, they've had some real pace going in practice. Rossi and Stoner, the new world champion.
Nicky Hayden and Loris Capirossi. Randy De Punier still chasing that first ever MotoGP victory.
Alex Barros, Shinya Nakano and Sylvain Guintoli line up on the 3rd row.
4th row, Ant West, Colin Edwards and Marco Melandri. Melandri, the winner of the race here last year.
Carlos Checa, John Hopkins and Makoto Tamada make up row 5.
Chris Vermeulen, the local man, wanted to do well. Chaz Davies and Tony Elias, 3rd in Japan 3 weeks ago.
Bring up the rear, it's Curtis Roberts on board that Team KR machine. This is the man who's going to start from pole position. It's Dani Pedrosa, and well, it's going to be a very, very interesting race. It's going to be an interesting start for Dani Pedrosa. We've said already, had a spill in the warm-up, practicing his start. His front wheel came right off the ground. He was thrown off the back of his bike. Comical moment maybe for some people in the paddock, but it'd be worrying times for the team as they lined up. Worrying times for Nicky Hayden, who sits behind him on the grid as well. We'll see what happens in just a minute and a half's time when they make their way around to the grid and this race gets underway. On board with Sylvain Guintoli as he makes his way around, and just behind him Chris Vermeulen. You can see that beautiful paint scheme he's running. Barry Sheene Memorial bike that he's running. He did a ride-in, didn't he, with the for the Barry Sheene Memorial ride-in. He joined in on that around the circuit before this weekend began, and Barry Sheene helped his career for a long time, Chris Vermeulen, and he just wanted to repay some of his respects to him.
Fabulous view of Phillip Island. That's up at Siberia. That's the Bass straight behind you. You can just see how windy it is. A smiley flag. I don't know if it's a smiley.
Don't worry, be happy.
Absolutely right. And I think we were talking about this earlier. I think the weather is, in some ways, for the fans here, is all part of Phillip Islands. That they come here, they don't moan about the weather. They wrap up warm. They know what to expect, and they just love it. And if you'd have been in Cowes last night, it was a pretty wild, windy place, I can tell you. That's the main town of Phillip Island. Everybody having a great time.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been expecting this really, would they? Bright blue skies out there at the moment. The only issue for the riders is the wind, because the temperature's okay, more or less now, and the sunshine bright as well. And this promises to be a very, very exciting race. Can this man take a 9th victory? Can he take his first victory on home soil? He is so desperate to do it. And, well, I wouldn't bet against him, I have to say. I think he's a very good chance of doing so. Some of the lap times he was setting in warm-up, some of the lap times he was setting in practice yesterday were very impressive indeed. But he has this man and Valentino Rossi ahead of him on the grid.
Dani Pedrosa in pole position. Major problems in the practice starts this morning. Will it be gone? Will it arrive for the race itself? We're about to find out. The doctor, Valentino Rossi, 5 successive wins here at Phillip Island. Broken only last year by Marco Melandri and Casey Stoner. The red flag goes away. 27 laps. It's the Australian Grand Prix here at Phillip Island. Can Stoner do it? He's made a great start.
They'll get away very, very well. Very clean start indeed. This is from Marco Melandri's bike. See what positions they can make up at the front. But look who has shot to the front. It is Casey Stoner. The new MotoGP World Champion leads. Nicky Hayden's just in behind him. Dani Pedrosa in 3rd spot, and Valentino Rossi just behind them in 4th place. Loris Capirossi's held on to 5th. Alex Barros has done well. He moves up into 6th place with Marco Melandri. He's also made a flyer. Radi de Punier's dropped right down the order.
Good start by one of the Suzukas as well as John Hopkins up into 9th place. What a start by Nicky Hayden, though, from the 2nd row of the grid. But Stoner out where he wants to be. He's going to ride very, very hard these opening laps. Can they stay with him? What about the Hondas? What about the Yamahas? The gauntlet has already been thrown down. Stoner leads. Can Hayden and co do anything about it?
He's really wanted to push away from the front. It doesn't surprise me that Pedrosa didn't get a great start. He'll have probably been a bit tentative after what happened this morning in the warm. You can see the wind's going to blast across them, and it worries them in fast lefts like this one. But they make their way up and over Lukey Heights. Fantastic scenes these. This is a brilliant camera shot as they go down through into MG Corner, where they concertina up. Nicky Hayden closes up on the rear of Casey Stoner's bike. We're on board with Pedrosa for a moment there as they make their way through Swan Corner.
Swan Corner, the fast left-hander, 4th gear up into 5th, now into 6th as they come down the Gardner Straight for the first time. Wayne Gardner Straight, Casey Stoner leads into the Mick Doohan Corner. It's Australia, Australia, Australia.
Stoner leading from Hayden in 2nd place, Pedrosa 3rd, Rossi 4th, Capirossi 5th. There goes Marco Melandri, last year's race winner, of course. Don't count him out. He's in 6th place now after he gets past Alex Barros. Remember, Melandri started from 12th on the grid, and he's already up to 6th. A really good start from him. Barros has dropped to 7th now. And then behind them, we've got Hopkins and Nakano having a good battle for 8th position. Radi de Punier, Amp West is doing well in 11th. Edwards, Vermeulen, Elias, Checker, Davis up into 16th. Gintley 17th, Tomato 18th. And Curtis Roberts bringing up the rear. A mover was Valentino Rossi there.
Yeah, Rossi had been all over the rear wheel of Dani Pedrosa. He's got past him. He doesn't want Stoner to get away at the front. Valentino Rossi now up into 3rd place. Nicky Hayden is having a good ride in 2nd spot. Stoner at the front. Now, what can Rossi do? Can he haul in Hayden? Can he make any progress on Stoner at the front after 1.5 laps? There is Rossi at the hairpin, just moving in to 2nd place.
Yeah, it's probably going to take just a bit of time for the Michelin tyre to come up to temperature. That's what's happened quite a lot this season. So Casey Stoner might try and see this advantage early on, but Nicky Hayden really is sticking with him. Maybe a lot of people didn't see Nicky Hayden. He wasn't going too well early on this weekend, but that's because the conditions were so tough. Qualified really well in 4th position, and it just remains to be seen whether he can stick there for the whole race. I'm not so sure. I think we're likely to see the likes of Rossi and Pedrosa come through. There's a slight gap opening up as Rossi runs it wide and onto the grass, and that'll cost him down the straight. And Pedrosa does get past him and back into 3rd. Rossi just running a little bit wide onto the start-finish straight there.
Mistake there by Valentino Rossi. He's a lucky lad. He only dropped 1 place. Pedrosa took full advantage. Rossi's right back at him straight away. And Hayden now really on the rear tyre of the Ducati of Casey Stoner. This is Nicky Hayden at his very best. We ride with Dani Pedrosa. Oh, Rossi, that could have been really bad. got off the rumble strip, almost onto the grass, and he just hangs onto it, but Pedrosa moves up a place.
He really was on the grass. If it had been one of the other days earlier on this week when it was slippy, he could have gone down there. At the front, Stoner leads. Hayden, though, not letting him go, clinging on to his coattails. In third, it's Dani Pedrosa, who holds off the challenge from Valentino Rossi this time around. Rossi, though, is on the rear wheel, and he's really stuck to the rear rubber of Dani Pedrosa, whose rear just steps out there, doesn't it? Slides round Siberia as they make their way through the hay shed and up to Lukey Heights.
Here comes Rossi again, we right with Dani Pedrosa, who's nicely placed as they come down towards the MG corner. That's Dani Pedrosa in front of him. So right-hander, Rossi dives up the inside. Surely no way through, even for Valentino Rossi. There's not. Rossi might make a move at the Swan corner. Pedrosa's riding very hard indeed. Look out also for Loris Capirossi and Marco Melandri.
Ant West has been a mover as well. He goes from 11th and now he's up into 9th past Shinya Nakano and trying to hunt down John Hopkins. Valentino Rossi smoking that rear tyre as he comes through Swan corner and onto the start-finish straight. 3 laps down, Stoner leads from Hayden, and Pedrosa and Rossi battling at the moment for third spot. Melandri's past Capirossi as they go across the line.
Hayden just thought about it momentarily, didn't he? Just had the first thought. Here comes Rossi, around the southern loop, up the inside of Dani Pedrosa into third place. Has it stuck? Let's have a look.
Yes, yeah, it has. Dani Pedrosa relegated 4th. Valentino Rossi up into 3rd position. They head down to turn 3 as it's a very, very fast 4th to 3rd gear left-hander, then down to 1st for the Honda corner and tight through there. Look at the different lines through there. Dani Pedrosa has problems going into Honda corner and Melandri snatches 4th from him.
What a race. Wow, 23 and a half laps to go. It promises to be an absolute cracker. Stoner still leads the way, Hayden on his coattails. Then we have Rossi, Marco Melandri, the winner of the race last year, right behind Valentino Rossi. Now Dani Pedrosa, well, Rossi goes through there, but Pedrosa made a big mistake, didn't he, at the hairpin that let Melandri through as well. It just does appear to me that Pedrosa's having a few problems.
Yeah, it does. It looks like he has them, just hooking things up at some of the corners at the moment. At the front, no problems for these two. Casey Stoner and Nicky Hayden, the 2007 and 2006 MotoGP World Champions, going hammer and tongs at the front. There's just over 23 laps remaining. This is on board with Valentino Rossi. You just see Dani Pedrosa just having problems getting it turned into Honda hairpin there, and he just has to bring it back round, run it a little bit wide. You can just see he was looking for the tighter line. Very lucky not to catch the rear tyre of, wasn't he, of Valentino Rossi there.
Or even take out Marco Melandri as well. I think it may have just been a mistake. Oh, Nicky Hayden is flying in 2nd place, isn't he? Fastest lap of the race to Marco Melandri. So look out also for the race winner last year, as we say, the only man to win 125, 250 and MotoGP races here at Phillip Island. He wants to repeat the dose as number 33, Marco Melandri. There we are, confirmation, a 1:38.06 for the Italian who joins Stoner at Ducati next season.
Chris Vermeulen, meanwhile, on board that Barishine replica Suzuki. He's up into 12th spot. He started down in 16th, so he's starting to make a bit of progress. He's a second down on Randy Depunier, who has dropped through the order so far in this race.
Valentino Rossi 3rd, Marco Melandri 5, Dani Pedrosa after a pretty eventful ride so far in 5th place. And then just at the rear of that group, Loris Capirossi, who won here, 1990, the 125cc race, and won the last MotoGP race at Motegi in Japan. Nicky Hayden's done a great job, hasn't he? I'm really impressed with Hayden because he's had a tough whole season, as if he said, right, new world champion. He congratulated him, didn't he, at Motegi, shook his hand, but he just wants to show him there's still a bit of life left in. He's not the old dog, is he? But the old world champion. Great stuff by Hayden. Stoner, though, superb at the front.
Looks like a brilliant battle going further down the order between Chaz Davies and Colin Edwards, battling for 14th spot, and that's a great ride from Chaz Davies to be ahead of, battling with Edwards, but ahead of Gintley, Elias, Tamada and Roberts. Brilliant stuff from the Briton, riding in only his 2nd MotoGP race. It's stringing out slightly at the moment. Stoner leading from Hayden, a slight gap of a second to Rossi, and then just behind him, just a few tenths behind to Pedrosa and Marco Melandri have just exchanged positions. It says there Melandri's in 4th, but he just lost out to Dani Pedrosa in turn 2.
Now I'm looking at Valentino Rossi. I have memories of a few years ago when he got that 10-second penalty as Melandri goes up the inside there.
Yeah, Melandri went through on Dani Pedrosa at Honda corner. Dani's bike not working so well through there at the moment, but you're right, Mark Brax, Valentino Rossi really does love this circuit. Remember that time he was forced to take an extra 10 seconds out of them all, and he did so just when he was giving a pitboard warning. And he really can find his way around this circuit very fast indeed. And he'll need to do so, though, to catch up with Hayden. He's eking back the gap slowly but surely to Stoner and Hayden at the front.
He is eking back the back, sorry Mark, but he is pulling it back slowly and surely, isn't he? And that's going to be a rare old battle at the front. We ride with Dani Pedrosa. The man in front of him is Marco Melandri. These two have been swapping places. Melandri, I think, will be slightly disappointed because he'd got past Pedrosa and he'd set the fastest lap. I think he probably felt he could start even reeling in Valentino Rossi a little bit. He hasn't been able to do it.
They come down the start-finish straight once more, and up on the inside goes Dani Pedrosa once more, Marco Melandri. He seems to have the edge on power, doesn't he? Bringing the pace out of that final corner. Dani Pedrosa can really hook it up well in the final corner on the circuit. That double apex left-hander that brings them back onto the start-finish straight. He took so much time out of the others in qualifying yesterday that it's going to be hard to get past him and stay past him, because he's going to try and slipstream you straight away and get past. Look at Rossi smoking the rear tyre of that Yamaha as they make their way up to Honda corner once more. And Melandri's back in front there. This is a brilliant battle between these two, isn't it?
Fabulous. Yep. Both former 250cc world champions and both really at it. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, just thinking with Pedrosa, he started off with you can see he's had trouble steering, but I think as the fuel load lightens up, the setup he's got is going to come into the fore, because it's starting to turn in a bit better now than what it was a couple of laps ago.
Here we go. This is Marco Melandri and Dani Pedrosa. They've been going hammer and tongs it throughout the race. Melandri takes over 4th place and then has relegated back again almost immediately by Dani Pedrosa.
Into MG they go. Pedrosa just in front of Melandri. Capirossi's not out of this one yet, is he? Right on the coattails of Melandri. Meanwhile, Alex Barros has just been dropped back slightly to just about 1.5 seconds behind Loris Capirossi, but it's a good ride so far from Barros. Hopkins is behind him, another 2 seconds. Then it's Ant West in 9th, Meccano in 10th, Depunier in 11th spot, Checker, Vermeulen, Edwards, and Chaz Davis in 15th place at the moment. Fastest lap of the race just come from Valentino Rossi. The tyre choices, Nick.
Yeah, front for Casey Stoner, obviously a soft front and a hard rear. Nicky Hayden, a medium front and a hard rear. Bridgestone versus Michelin. There is Nicky Hayden, there's Valentino Rossi, that fastest lap of the race so far on the Yamaha with the Michelin tyres.
Now I've got Pete Benson with me, Nicky Hayden's crew chief. Pete, he's in second, there's a long way to go, but from what happened at the start of the year to now, the Michelin tyres, the new swing arm, the fairing that you were testing this weekend, it's certainly really coming together.
Yeah, I mean, the whole package has got better as the year's gone on, you know, but also Nicky loves this place. He always gets it on Sunday, and the weather's come right for us, which has certainly helped as well.
And you found something this morning that just got that extra bit?
Yeah, we made a couple of changes overnight. You know, they weren't big, but it was just enough. And like I say, you know, the track temperature suits the stuff we got at the moment quite a lot.
And the gaps are staying pretty much the same, which is good too.
Well, yeah, I'd like to see him start going a bit further forward as always, but hey, you know, it's pretty good so far.
Thanks, mate.
No worries.
Yeah, just talking about those gaps, just slightly moving out to half a second between Stoner and Hayden now. And meanwhile, Valentino Rossi is dropping back slightly from Nicky Hayden, about 1.3 seconds for the time. It was at about 1.1 seconds, so on this lap, they've just eked out a little bit more. Rossi looks better in the first half of the circuit and slower in the second half, that's for sure. There's Earl Hayden clapping on his son, Nicky.
Great to see Earl Hayden there, celebrating with Nicky Hayden when he won at Laguna Seca. Of course, won the world title. He's there again, cheering on his son. He's putting in a great effort, but Casey Stoner, once again, absolutely superb at the front. I think Casey Stoner, well, perhaps he wouldn't, I said, would like a really good battle, but I think for the race itself, that's what we need.
Just a bit of a problem on that last lap for Ant West, who's dropped down to 11th spot, just down behind Randy Depunier and Carlos Checa, so he'll be having to fight back to get past his teammate and Carlos Checa.
This is Nicky Hayden, world champion last year, had a really tough time this season. Honda, Michelin, not really up to spec early in the season. It's coming better all the time. He's lost that world title. Oh, how he'd love to win a Grand Prix before the end of the season. But Casey Stoner at the front. He's 22 next week, well, this week. World champion, chasing his 9th Grand Prix victory of the season. And Rossi is just about holding fire at the moment. It's not really closing the gap but he so often comes strong as the tyres start to slip and slide about. He's not letting them get away. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, the gap stays at about 1.3 between himself and Hayden. On board with Casey Stoner, just as he has a bit of a moment coming around there, but I don't think he'll be too worried about that one for the time being. If it happens, starts happening every lap, then he will start to have a bit of a worry. But Livio Suppo doesn't look like there's too many problems at the moment as they come down the Gardner Straight and they finish off the 9th lap of 27 here at Phillip Island. Look at Stoner's pace down there, 316 kilometres. That's really 200 miles an hour, just off about 198 as they go across the start-finish line there.
Nicky Hayden quite down on pace there, look, 305, Valentino Rossi 310. Stoner just opening up a little bit of an advantage, perhaps Rossi just catching a little bit. Marco Melandri making no real progress though on Dani Pedrosa. We're at this not quiet period of the race, but it's just settled down a bit now, and it's very, very important these next 2 or 3 laps to see which way it's going to go.
Casey Stoner just setting very consistent laps in the high 130s, a 130.9 from him, and from Hayden and Rossi, both clocking a 131.0, so just about a 10th between himself and Hayden and Rossi, but that could be enough. The gap between Stoner and Hayden now suddenly stands at 1.2 seconds. Nicky Hayden's had a problem coming around the Honda hairpin there because he's lost half a second in one split.
We ride with Alex Barros, currently in 7th place on that Pramac Dantine Ducati.
I think Hayden does have a problem. It's out to 1.5 seconds now, the gap between Stoner and Hayden as they come through the 3rd split, and they'll head round the final corner and come down the start-finish straight. We're watching Alex Barros at the moment, but at the front, Casey Stoner is just opening up, and there you can see Valentino Rossi is starting to close in on Nicky Hayden now. It's been a great start to the race for Nicky Hayden, but it looks like he's got a couple of problems so far in this race. Casey Stoner has just set his fastest lap of the race, a 130.8, while Hayden did a 132.2. Problems for Nicky Hayden, I'm sure it's to do with the tyres because Valentino Rossi has got past him and up into 2nd spot.
Rossi gets past Nicky Hayden. I don't think there was anything Nicky Hayden could do about it. Is there a problem for the Kentucky kid, the world champion last year? And can Valentino Rossi now start hauling in Casey Stoner? Nicky Hayden, what a shame. He's ridden so brilliant in the early stages of this race. 16.5 laps to go.
I think it's his rear tyre, Nick and Gav, because a couple of laps ago going over Lukey Heights, he had the thing on the stop sideways, and the thing was just wheel spinning, leaving big back lines. And he did the same thing just then going through turn 3.
Yeah, Valentino Rossi also had a bit of a moment in the Honda hairpin there, just going a little bit wide as well, but he brings it back round, and Nicky Hayden now just battling to stay with Valentino Rossi. The gap between Stoner and Rossi at 2.7 seconds. In one way, the Australian fans would love to see a battle between himself and Rossi, but in another way, they'd just love to see him win the Australian Grand Prix, wouldn't they?
They can't lose, really, can they? They've got it absolutely every way. Stoner superb at the front. The gap now just 0.2 of a second. Valentino Rossi has pulled back, but you just worry if he's having tyre problems, Nicky Hayden's having tyre problems, they're both on Michelins, that Valentino Rossi will suffer the same sort of problem.
Just look at the rear wheel of Valentino Rossi spinning up there as they go through Swan Corner. It's just where they flick it up into 4th gear. They head down through 5th and 6th just as they cross the line. Casey Stoner now, what's the gap going to be as he crosses the line? You can see he's opened it up again. He's just eking out a 10th on every single lap. On that lap between himself and Rossi, there were 0.8 of a second. He's shown this year that when he sets a pace at the beginning of the race, he's so consistent from lap to lap to lap that he just is managing to open up a gap over the other riders. Nicky Hayden again in the 132s on that lap, so his lap times have dropped by a second over the last couple.
Yeah, Nicky Hayden 3rd, Dani Pedrosa 4, Marco Melandri 5, Loris Capirossi 6, Alex Barros 7, John Hopkins 8, Randy De Punier 9, Carlos Checa 10, and West 11, and Chris Vermeulen 12, so 11 and 12 for the Australians. Shinya Nakano 13, Colin Edwards 14, Sylvain Guintoli 15, and Charles Davis chasing that vital point in 16th place. Tony Elias 17th, Makoto Tamada 18th, and Curtis Roberts in 19th place.
And Pedrosa getting very close to Nicky Hayden too, so he'll be under threat for his podium spot very shortly.
Yeah, it looks as though real problems for Nicky Hayden. What a disappointment for him to have these kind of problems. And, well, We've been talking about tyre issues all this weekend, haven't we? Whether there will be a one-tyre rule next year, that should be decided in Malaysia. There was talk that it had been, everything had turned on its head over the last couple of weeks, that the tyre manufacturer come up with something to satisfy the other riders. Just look at the marks that Valentino Rossi was leaving coming through Swan. They do have problems on the left-hand side of the tyres. All these three riders, all smoking the tyres coming through there. Sometimes they like to do that, but I'm sure they'll be a bit worried the fact that Casey Stoner is taking a second a lap out of them at the moment.
This is the battle for third place. It's Dani Pedrosa in fourth spot. Nicky Hayden, who chased Casey Stoner so hard in the early stages of the race, coming under real pressure. Valentino Rossi is getting away from them, but he's not really pulling away from them, and he's certainly making no impression on the Australian at the front, the world champion, Casey Stoner. There's 14 and a half laps to go. It's got a familiar feel to it, hasn't it?
Rossi in second, Hayden in third, and Dani Pedrosa closing in on him all the time. And Marco Melandri is closing in on Dani Pedrosa as well. Could it be another Bridgestone day? Could it be that Michelins aren't going to make it? Who knows? We've got 14 and a half laps remaining. The second, third and fourth place here in this race are all on Michelin. Second and third in the championship are all on Michelin, of course, as well, behind the Bridgestone of Casey Stoner. And it's that way in the race at this moment. And Nicky Hayden sticks out his leg. A moment for Nicky Hayden, who's a blast of smoke out of his Honda. Problems for him, and he's furious. The 2006 MotoGP World Champions, it's locked up his bike as well. Just saw it lock up, and he's forced to run it off track. An engine problem for Hayden, surely.
Yeah, he's retired there. That big puff of smoke, I'd say, was a piston or a valve letting go.
Nicky Hayden out of the race here at Phillip Island. There puts his left leg out. He knows it's gone. Dani Pedrosa goes through, and Nicky Hayden's race is over. And he is absolutely,
fuming, isn't he? Can you blame him? I mean, there's been so many problems for Honda this year. It looks as if they'd sorted them, but obviously still problems for, well, he was the reigning world champion until this man took his crown just 3 weeks ago. Now he's a former world champion, and more disappointment for him in a very hard season for the number one, Nicky Hayden. The new number one is Casey Stoner, and he's got over 4 seconds between himself and the 5-time MotoGP world champion, Valentino Rossi, who now makes his way through Honda corner. But these two are going to have to watch out for Melandri and Capirossi, who are very, very rapidly closing in on them.
Yeah, it could be a battle of the tyres. The Bridgestone's closing in on the Michelins. Let's wait and see. This is Marco Melandri, closely followed by Loris Capirossi, both of them former winners here at Phillip Island. Valentino Rossi still in the second place. Dani Pedrosa at third, but Melandri closing in on him. Stoner just getting away at the front, to the delight of the Australian crowd. It could be one hell of a battle, though, for second place as they go up over Lucky Heights. 13 and a half laps to go. There is Pedrosa, increasing pressure from Melandri and Loris Capirossi.
I wouldn't rule out an all Bridgestone podium here, with Melandri and Capirossi joining Casey Stoner if they can keep things together and if things work until the end of the race. Dani Pedrosa's got his problems. You could see there his rear tyre stepping out once more, and you can see he's got problems. Just look at him sliding as they come on to start-finish straight. And with 13 laps are remaining now for these guys, it's going to be very, very hard to see these Bridgestone riders being held off by the Michelin guys. Randy Depunier's done very, very well indeed. He's past Hopkins now and up into 7th position in the race. Chaz Davis, meanwhile, on the Pramac Dantine Ducati, forced to retire from the race, so problems for him and his bike. Disappointment for the young Briton.
Poor old Chaz Davis really wanted a good result to put himself in the shot window. Not the case. Carlos Checa chasing hard there after Ant West. Ant West is 9th, Carlos Checa in 10th place. Carlos Checa having a very good ride, isn't he? And probably his last MotoGP appearance in Australia, and doing a very good job. Chris Vermeulen in 11, Colin Edwards 12, Shinya Nakano 13, Silva Gintelli in 14th place. We ride with Ant West on his very first ride on a MotoGP machine here at home at Phillip Island. Chris Vermeulen is having to ride extremely hard just to hang in there at the moment in 11th place. And behind him, well, another former World Superbike star, of course, the world champion, Colin Edwards. And at the front, Stoner just opening up the advantage now to 4.7 seconds.
Yeah, I'm sure mixed emotions from the fans here at Phillip Island, who want to see a huge battle between Stoner, Rossi, Pedrosa. But at the moment, they're going to see their home hero win the race, so I'm sure they're delighted with that one nonetheless. It's been a big boost to MotoGP popularity, not only for Casey Stoner, because of Casey Stoner, because of Chris Vermeulen's performances. Now he's up into 11th spot in this race. Ant West has upped his pace and gone up into 9th place in this race. So positive moves from the Aussies in the second half of this race now. Marco Melandri is closing all the time. He's got Bridgestone tyres on board that Honda, and he's closing down on the Michelin-shod Honda of Dani Pedrosa, who's on that factory bike. And I'm sure it's just a matter of time before these two are exchanging places once more, as they have done earlier on in this race. Is Marco Melandri going to be able to make a move in Honda corner? Not this time, but he's closing all the time, isn't he, Nick?
Certainly is. It's the battle for third place, the final position on the podium. Melandri and Pedrosa had a rare old battle early in the race. Pedrosa took the advantage, but now he is struggling. There's no doubt about it. Marco Melandri just preparing to overtake him. It's really not a question of when. Well, it's a question of when rather than how he's going to do it. No, he thought about it. There was a mistake there by Marco Melandri, and Dani Pedrosa hangs in there as they go up towards Lucky Heights. Oh, and Loris Capirossi almost getting past Melandri. So Melandri made a mistake. He's got all the hard work to do again. And Loris Capirossi now right on the rear wheel of his Italian countryman, Marco Melandri. Dani Pedrosa hangs on to third place. Valentino Rossi hangs on to second place. The gap at the front, 4.8 seconds. Casey Stoner is smoking this one in front of his home crowd.
Yeah, Marco Melandri, I think, was just a bit rushed a little bit, didn't he? Desperate to get past Dani Pedrosa. Felt like he was being held up, but he maybe just rushed into that manoeuvre just a little bit too early. Valentino Rossi, nothing he can do at the moment about Stoner's dominance. He's over 5 seconds behind Loris Capirossi. Having a look now at Marco Melandri. Melandri's got to do all that hard work over again to pull back the gap to Dani Pedrosa. He has to make his way back towards the Spaniard if he wants to get past him. Loris Capirossi is not going to make it easy for him though either.
Certainly isn't. Loris Capirossi right on the rear wheel now of Marco Melandri. He's beautifully placed. Oh, he's not quite close enough, is he? No. Marco Melandri really rode that defensively and well. We ride with Marco Melandri, winner of the race here last year. Loris Capirossi behind him, winner of the race in Japan 3 weeks ago. But as Gavin so rightly said, he's got to battle his way back now to try and catch Dani Pedrosa again. That will be hard work. So the battle for fourth place.
Just thinking about, there's Chaz Davies going into the pits after his retirement, but Michelin have certainly come along in a few inroads in the last few weeks, but it still shows that they've got an issue with durability, whereas the Bridgestones are a lot better on their wear and tear, and helpful with the Ducati's engine management as well.
Just run a little bit wide there from Marco Melandri, just slightly. It gave Capirossi a bit of a door ajar signal, but not this time. And for the time being, the gap between Pedrosa and Melandri was 1.1 at the end of the last lap, and he's just taken about a tenth out of that on this lap. But he's got Capirossi for company, and if the power of the Ducati is anything like it has been this season, Capirossi could snatch fourth from him here. They go into turn one, and he does. Our race winner from Japan, Loris Capirossi, is not going to go out of the Ducati factory without a bag. And meanwhile, Valentino Rossi's definitely got problems because Dani Pedrosa has now taken second from him.
Pedrosa moves up into second place. We thought he was having major problems, but it's Valentino Rossi now relegated to third place.
Whoa!
And the men behind him, and a real old front wheel wobble there from Dani Pedrosa. These riders are on the limit on the Michelin tyres. There is no doubt about that as they go towards the hairpin. Rossi thought about it momentarily, then decided let's hang in there on third place. Pedrosa second, Rossi third. Melandri and Capirossi battle it out just behind them. Casey Stoner in a league of his own out at the front. Oh, look there.
Wow.
Dani Pedrosa just somehow hangs on to the front end of that Honda. Rossi pushing him hard. Rossi trying to exert pressure on Dani Pedrosa all the way through.
Who said that Dani Pedrosa didn't have the strength to manage one of these bikes? Oh. Well, he did very well to hang on to the bike there. Just in terms of the lap times, though. Oh, as Dani Pedrosa runs it wide in MG. Casey Stoner still in the high 130s. A 130.89 he clocked on that last lap, while Rossi and Pedrosa down in the high 131s. And it's just going to be a Stoner victory all the way. And I'm sure that's what this crowd are going to love. 9 laps remaining now as they cross the start-finish line. Stoner leads from Pedrosa in second place now. Valentino Rossi in third, Loris Capirossi in fourth, and he's just set his fastest lap of the race so far, and he's going to have a go at Valentino Rossi very soon indeed. Can we see a Ducati 1-2 here at Phillip Island? That will make it a very special weekend for them.
Alex Barros still going well in 6th place. Randy de Punier 7. John Hopkins in 8th place. That's a close battle between those two. In 9th place, Carlos Checker, and in 10th place, Ant West. Chris Vermeulen 11th. Colin Edwards in 12th spot.
Rossi through on Danny Pedrosa at Honda. No! Pedrosa closes the door as they come out of it, but Capirossi's joined the party as well. This is going to be a real battle for 2nd place now. Behind Casey Stoner, they picked the bike up out of Siberia. They've all got problems coming out of there. The one who looked most solid was Loris Capirossi.
Capirossi, winner of the race in Japan 3 weeks ago, started winning races here at Phillip Island in 1990, the 125cc class, as they go up through Lucky Heights. Pedrosa hanging on by a tyre thread. Rossi tries to get up the inside of him, not able to do so. Loris Capirossi says, I've got you in my sights, I can bide my time. He can. Still 8.5 laps to go. Stoner just building up a massive advantage at the front, but we've got a great race for 2nd place and those 2 places on the podium. Somebody is going to be very disappointed.
They come onto the Gardner Straight, and when they cross the line, there's 8 laps remaining. Look at Capirossi, eats up the ground on Valentino Rossi's Yamaha. Loris Capirossi drafts past Valentino Rossi and up into the podium positions. Capirossi up into 3rd. Can he take 2nd? He's going to try it straight away. 2 riders in 2 corners. Really impressive stuff from Loris Capirossi. There's life in the old dog yet.
That is really rubbing their noses in it, Ducati. 1-2 here at the moment in Phillip Island. 7.5 laps to go. Loris Capirossi moves into 2nd place. Valentino Rossi gets up the inside of Danny Pedrosa. He doesn't want to take this lying down, but, well, they're having their problems, aren't they, both Rossi and Pedrosa?
Valentino Rossi doesn't want to miss out on the fact that every single time he's appeared here in MotoGP, he's finished on the podium. 7 times he's been here in 500s or in MotoGP, and he's been up the podium in every single one. He's won 5 of them. And he's fighting hard to stay on the podium now, because Capirossi first went past him to snatch 3rd from it, and then Capirossi went up into 2nd spot, and the Italians are battling it out for that 2nd place. Rossi, he wants to stay in those podium spots, of course.
Now, Capirossi's passing move started on the entrance to that last turn. He was able to get the drive where Valentino Rossi and Pedrosa were just wheel spinning their way through it, and then Capirossi was able to continue that through into turn 1 as Stoner crosses the line again with now about a 7.5 second lead.
Behind them, the battle still rages, but Capirossi is getting away as he goes into the Mick Doohan corner. Here comes Danny Pedrosa on the brakes up the inside of Rossi. They're riding on spent tyres. They've got to be very, very careful indeed. And Rossi's not letting Capirossi get away, is he? Capirossi, remember that massive accident in turn 1 in practice, 2 years ago? Left here by helicopter, didn't he? A horrendous accident. Where did he overtake Valentino Rossi going into turn 1? As you say, there's life in the old dog yet.
Certainly is. He sits in 2nd position behind his teammate Casey Stoner. We haven't seen much of Casey Stoner in this race, but that's because he really is taking the fight to the rest. 7 seconds leads. He'll just be a red speck to these 3 riders battling it out. Here he is, Casey Stoner out of Siberia into the hay shed. A fast 4th gear right-hander. Will flick it left now as he makes his way around the long Lukey Heights. We'll bring him back up and over the top down to MG. In 2nd place, this is Loris Capirossi, who's now going into that left at Lukey Heights. And Valentino Rossi just behind him in 3rd. Danny Pedrosa clinging at the moment onto 4th and just being dropped slightly by the 2 Italians.
Rossi wants to beat Capirossi so badly, doesn't it? You can just see it in the way he's riding. It's tremendous stuff. Oh, Marco Melandri now coming under real pressure from Alex Barros. That's problems obviously for Marco Melandri. Alex Barros riding quite beautifully as they come into the Swan corner.
As he said to us before the race, he does love this track, and obviously there's problems for Marco Melandri's tyres here because Barros has just eased past him at the final corner to bring it onto the home straight and move his way up into 5th position. A really good ride from Alex Barros. Talk about there being life in Capirossi, certainly life in Alex Barros, who's talking about a move out to MotoGP and back to World Superbikes next season.
And
we couldn't see Ducati 1, 2, 3, could we? That one.
I think
it's about rubbing your nose
gap.
in it. That's right. Sorry, Mark.
No, just looking at Melandri's lap times over the last few laps, he's gone from a mid-32, now he's into a high 36, 34, so there's something really wrong with those tyres of his. He's really torn them up as he's tried to keep in touch with these guys.
What a race for 2nd place between 2 magnificent MotoGP. Well, they're veterans. Valentino Rossi is a veteran of the MotoGP class, isn't it? This is the battle for second place. Capirossi hanging in there. Rossi riding well. Are they spent tyres? He's at his best when they're slipping and sliding around. And he so wants to get past Loris Capirossi with 5.5 laps to go. Great race between two superb motorcycle races. Two Italians and two people have done so much for the sport. And I think Dani Pedrosa's been dropped a little bit. This is an all-Italian battle. Been back home, they'll be watching this with enormous interest, and they won't be too unhappy with the Italians. So this is Ducati that leads the way with an Australian on board.
You watch them come round the final corner and into the Gardner Straight one more time when they cross the line. 5 laps remaining for all these guys. They're not going to be able to beat Casey Stoner today, but the battle between the two Italians, two legends of this sport. I'm sure when they both hang up their boots, they'll be inducted into the Hall of Fame very readily indeed, because they, as you say, Nick, have contributed so much to this sport over the years. Chris Vermeulen and Ant West having a really nice battle for 9th spot. And Vermeulen's just got past Ant West on that last lap, and West repays the compliment at turn 1. Really good battle for the Aussies, down in 9th and 10th position. And you can see just behind them, they've got Colin Edwards and Carlos Checa for company as well. But this is really nice to see these two having a go at it for 9th spot. A nice battle further down the order.
Yeah, a lot of pride at stake in this battle, and Ant West would have never believed you if you'd have said it. We've been battling with Chris Vermeulen at Phillip Island in Australia in a MotoGP race for a top 10 finish. He'd have laughed, wouldn't he, and said, sorry, I'm off to World Supersport. He wasn't. He's doing very well indeed. Chris Vermeulen's had a tough weekend, but he will battle it all the way to the end, as will Colin Edwards, and Carlos Checa just tucked in behind them. There is Colin Edwards, winner of a World Superbike race here at Phillip Island. But at the front, he's done it again. He's doing it again. There's 4.5 laps to go, well, less, almost just 4 laps to go. He crosses the line. Casey Stoner is in a class of his own here at Phillip Island. And let's be honest, he has been since that opening round of the championship in Qatar way back in March.
He's just backed off slightly on that lap, Casey Stoner. His team was saying, slow down, slow. Well, I think they were saying calm down more than slow down. But he has just backed off to 1:32, his slowest lap of the race so far. But he knows he's got a 7-second cushion over his teammate Loris Capirossi. Lynn Jarvis, Yamaha Racing Director, just watches on from the Yamaha garage as Valentino Rossi fights to stay in touch with Capirossi.
Now I've got Livio Supo with me, the team manager of the Ducati team. Livio, still a few laps to go with what's going on, but with the 1-2 of the Ducati, it just shows the combination of the riders, but also the engine management with the Bridgestone tyres seem to be easier on them, as we've seen the Michelin struggle after a good start.
Well, struggle. If you look at Valentino, it doesn't look so struggling. I think the package is very good. This truck suits very well always our bike, and our always Loris has been very fast here. So, I mean, cross our finger, but if he's finished like this, it's a dream. We have 3 bikes in top 5, I think, first time ever. No, maybe also in Turkey this year, but good way to try to celebrate the World Constructor title that I think will arrive.
Yeah, well, it's good to see Casey Stoner go out and have a bit of fun without the pressure being on him as a world champion.
He's doing a great job so far. Let's just hope he doesn't push too much. I think he's enough.
Okay, thanks, Livio. He'll be okay.
They're trying to slow him down, aren't they? But this is Casey Stoner. That's what he wants to do. 330 kilometres an hour down that back
On an
straight.
800cc.
They're going to be slow, those 800s, you know.
Yeah,
They're not going to be any good.
Over 200 miles an hour for Casey Stoner. We're on board with him, watching him make his way around the Phillip Island circuit. He flicks it up into 4th gear, then up into 5th. Well, this is just watching a master in action at the moment, Casey Stoner. And he comes down to 1st gear for the Honda corner.
He is a master in action. He is absolutely superb. He has dominated this championship from start to finish. He's had lifelong ambition to win at Phillip Island. He's 2.5 laps away. Surely nobody would bet against him now. Let's just ride with the world champion for a second. It's a sight and sound that should make the whole of Australia very proud.
Makes his way through Swan Corner, the double apex left-hander that will bring him onto the start-finish straight for, well, he'll have 2 laps to go when he crosses the line now. Through he goes, the second part of that double apex. Rear tyre spinning as he comes onto the start-finish straight and down through the gears once more. Flicks it down into 6th now. What speed does he reach at the end of the straight? 330, he was up into 333 I think for a second there, but 330 as he crosses through the speed trap. Proud wife on the left there, Adriana, and his team watch on from the pit garage. Very, very confident and very, very proud of a brilliant ride from Casey Stoner in front of his home fans. He was desperate to do this earlier this week, but he was so relaxed about it at the same time, wasn't he?
Well, he joins the greats, doesn't he? Wayne Gardner and Mick Doohan won world titles, won the Australian Grand Prix. Casey Stoner en route to do exactly the same. And just to say thank you very much indeed. Loris Capirossi looks like he's going to bring Ducati home in 2nd place. There's nothing Valentino Rossi can do but just sit back and admire the Ducatis and the Bridgestones and the 2 riders in front of him. Looks like another podium finish for the Doctor, but nowhere near the front.
Back on board with Casey Stoner as he makes his way round, up and over Lukey Heights now. It goes over to the top of the circuit. You can see the sea from there. Real spectacle it is to watch MotoGP at the Phillip Island circuit. And for the penultimate time, he makes his way around Swan Corner. In 2nd position is Loris Capirossi. A 1-2 for the Ducati team. This would be a brilliant weekend for them. Casey Stoner, though, heads into Gardner Straight for the penultimate time.
Number 27 flashes across the line here at Phillip Island, and it's another red and white Ducati. That blood of Italy flowing through its veins in 2nd place. Valentino Rossi, 5 times winner here in the MotoGP class, riding the Yamaha, can do nothing about it in 3rd place. Dani Pedrosa has crossed the line in 4th place, and it's another Ducati in 5th place with the veteran, the Brazilian veteran, Alex Barros. Randy Depunier 6th, John Hopkins in 7th place.
Depunier's done well, fought back from early problems in the race and made it up to 6th, and they've done well to snatch those positions there.
Chris Vermeulen and Ant West continue their battle. Vermeulen is in 9th place. Ant West has just dropped back actually into 11th, and it's Colin Edwards up into 10th spot.
And in fact, even Carlos Checo has just got past him as well. Ant West having problems late on in the race, so disappointment for him, the Gold Coast rider. He's just dropped down to 12th. He won't like that, but meanwhile, Chris Vermeulen has gone past Marco Melandri and up into 8th spot, so good news for Chris Vermeulen, but Casey Stoner can enjoy the last 2 corners of the Phillip Island circuit. He will come home to a hero's welcome here in Phillip Island, and it's a hero for the Australians here today. He will take another 25 points in his 9th win of the season.
The checkered flag beckons the 21-year-old Australian. What a homecoming for Casey Stoner. He has won the Australian Grand Prix here at Phillip Island. His 9th Grand Prix victory of the season.
A great moment for Casey Stoner in front of his home fans. Loris Capirossi comes home behind him in 2nd. And Ducati 1-2. Valentino Rossi's fought against tyre problems to come home and finish off the podium slots. Pedrosa in 4th. A good ride from Barros to bring that Ducati home in 5th.
What a day, what a year, what a time for Ducati and Casey Stoner and Loris Capirossi. So Randy Depunier, excellent 6th place by him on the Kawasaki. John Hopkins 7th. Chris Vermeulen, excellent 8th spot. Colin Edwards in 9th place. Ducati, there's going to be one hell of a party in Cows tonight. Casey Stoner and Valentino. Loris Capirosi's just got a little Italian flag. Casey Stoner's got a rather big Australian one. They're just checking that they know they were 1st and 2nd. Congratulations, Ducati. Congratulations, Australia. And congratulations, Casey Stoner.
Yeah, I've got Livio Supo with me now. You can relax now, Livio, but was that one of the sweetest races you've had anything to do with? You've won the World Championship last week.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your...
So you can relax now, but is this one of the sweetest races you've witnessed? Because even though you won the World Championship 3 weeks ago and Loris won, to have a 1-2 in such a dominant fashion.
1-2 like last race of last year with an Australian and Italian again. So it's really, you know, I think it's the best way to win the championship because today I guess we win the Constructor Championship. So, I mean, we have 3 bikes on top 5. All the people in the company deserve this, you know. We have been working so hard to arrive at this level, and we are proud that, of course, Casey has dominated this season.
Just Alex, they're getting them off the track straight away. They've turned them off on the corner. So
I'm really happy to see also Loris back again after second. I mean, after winning in Motegi and second here, it's unbelievable.
All right, thank you. Go and enjoy.
Valentino Rossi, first man back into Parc Ferme. Gives his team a big hug. I don't think there's anything else Valentino Rossi could have done. Dani Pedrosa very, very disappointed. Dani Pedrosa from pole position had a really good battle early on with Marco Melandri, but in the end had to settle for 4th place. This is Casey Stoner. He's already back, probably quite wise to get back as quick as he can.
Oh, they didn't let them do a victory like Nick. They took them off the escape road at turn 4 there and brought them straight up.
Yeah, probably the sensible thing to do. Casey Stoner, well, big smile. What a season he's had. It's his birthday this week. What a way to celebrate. World champion, his 9th Grand Prix win and victory at Phillip Island. Loris Capirossi. What an end to the season for that tough old, hard-working veteran, eh? Wins in Japan, 2nd here. Who knows how he's going to sign off his Ducati career with 2 more rides before he joins Suzuki.
Well, there's still plenty of life in the old Kappa T-Rex, isn't there?
It certainly is. There's Casey Stoner and Loris Capirossi having a really big hug. They're delighted. Valentino Rossi just talking to his team at the moment. And, well, what a day for the Stoner family. They left Australia when he was 14 years old to start his road racing career in England. They lived in England. They then went to Spain to compete in the Spanish Championship. They stayed in Spain. They stayed in England. They drove a whole motorhome around Europe in order that their son could compete in the World Championships. It was the ultimate sacrifice. It's paid off, hasn't it? He's the world champion, and he's won the Australian Grand Prix. Bikes are in Parc Ferme. The riders we've lost momentarily. They will be making their way up onto the podium, and then, of course, they will be talking to Gavin. Here's Loris Capirossi. Always smiling. And really coming into peak form on his last few rides for Ducati. How will he go at Suzuki when he rides with Chris Vermeulen? That's going to be interesting. 6.7 seconds between the 2 Ducatis at the front, Stoner and Capirossi. Valentino Rossi 3rd, keeps up that podium finish every time in the MotoGP race here at Phillip Island. Dani Pedrosa 4, Alex Barros 5, Rani de Punier 6, John Hopkins in 7th place. 8th was Chris Vermeulen, 9th was Colin Edwards, 10th Marco Melandri, 11th Carlos Checa, Ant West 12th, just dropped back at the end of the race. Shinya Nakano 13th, Sylvain Guintoli in 14th place. Well, you don't need telling, do you? 92-point advantage now Casey Stoner has at the top of the World Championship. Valentino Rossi safe and sound surely now in 2nd place. Dani Pedrosa hanging on to 3rd. John Hopkins 4, Chris Vermeulen 5. Further down, Alex Barros in 10th place after such a good ride today. Tony Elias 11th despite an injury hit season. Randy de Punier, you've got to say, a disappointing 12th with some very, very good rides. Ant West in 15th place. Some people there with just a few rides. Roger Lee Hayden, of course, Nicky Hayden's brother. The Australian flag will fly high and proud here at Phillip Island this evening, and rightly so.
I think if there wasn't much of a celebration in Motegi, Nick, I think there might be a bit of one now. As Livio Supo said, they've also wrapped up the Constructors' title this afternoon as well.
What a ride by Alex Barros. Looks like he may finally retire from MotoGP at the end of this season. He's finished in 5th place. And again, another great servant to the cause. Casey Stoner flags, Valentino Rossi flags, of course. Crowd enjoyed every moment of a magnificent day of racing here at this fabulous venue. Phillip Island, Victoria, Australia. If you've never been here, just one day, make the trip. I promise you, it's well worth it, but bring your coat. Crowd on the track, but it all looks very civilized, ready for the podium ceremony. The riders, you can see there, Casey Stoner and Loris Capirossi just doing a few interviews. Valentino Rossi also.
Valentino Rossi hasn't left his crew at the moment. They're all trying to struggle to him, but the cameras have had to go to him.
And this is the race. It's 27 laps, it's Phillip Island. Casey Stoner desperate to win. He made a great start, but as did Nicky Hayden from the second row of the grid. The two world champions for the last 2 years, 07 and 06, fighting it out at the front. And Valentino Rossi now up into 3rd place, although dropping to 4th after almost crashing at the very fast Swan corner. Then the fun and games started. Earl Hayden urging on his son, Nicky. But slowly but surely, Stoner just eking out a few precious meters. Pedrosa and Melandri having a tremendous scrap. Pedrosa relegated by Marco Melandri, then immediately taking him back. But look at Casey Stoner through the Swan corner. Hayden hanging in there, just about. Rossi now taking on Pedrosa and getting past him.
Now, I've got Loris Capirossi with me. You said on the grid you like this place and you had a good feeling about it, but sensational race. Slow start, but there's just the whole Ducati package and the Bridgestone tyres, and you.
Yeah, well, I don't start really good today because I don't good feeling with the tire at the beginning, but when I keep feeling, I start to push really hard. My rhythm is really good. And but I lose a little bit too much at the beginning with Marco, and when I overtake him, I say to him, please, don't overtake me more. And I try to attack everybody, and this second position today is great.
And a 1-2 for Ducati as well, and that happened similar time last year at Valencia with another Australian.
Yeah, well, I am really happy, you know, because all season with Casey is great, and I like to finish like that.
All right, all the best. Thanks, Loris.
Yeah, thank you.
Many ways, the perfect result. Well, not many ways, it was the perfect result for Ducati, wasn't it? Casey Stoner in a league on his own. Great ride also by Alex Barros.
Now,
Here he is going past Marco Melandri.
Well, let me shake your hand to a world champion and now the Australian Grand Prix champion as well, Casey Stoner. I'm pretty happy to be witness this from afar in the pit lane, but what a race. You've come down to Australia, you've struggled here in the past with different results. This must be the icing on the cake.
Yeah, we've always been pretty competitive here, but, you know, one thing or another stopped me, whether it's my fault or something else. But, I mean, you know, this is definitely the icing on the cake. I didn't think the season could get a lot better, but to win our home GP and that sort of, in that way, you know, was just unbelievable. I was quite relaxed for the second half of the race. You know, once we got that buffer, we just pretty much held it there. I was a little bit worried about the tyres just destroying themselves before the end, because we've been having a lot of trouble with that with this weekend, but, you know, they hung in there and they did great, and it's unbelievable to win in front of the home crowd.
You said the Turkish Grand Prix was your best victory. How does this rate now?
This is definitely one of the best. I mean, you know, this is the one, you know, if there was one track I wanted to win at this year, this was it, and we did it. You know, if there was one championship we wanted to win, it was this one, and we did it. So it's just been an unbelievable season for me, and I hope we can continue this.
You took the Constructors title today as well.
Well, that's even better. So hopefully, we got the teams as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got Constructors, teams, everything. We wrapped it up. So, I mean, nothing can really get better, can it?
Congratulations, mate. I think this is the start of a long era for you.
Thank you very much.
Casey Stoner talking to Mark Brax. There's the top speeds. 318 for Danny Pedrosa. Casey Stoner 317. I thought we had a faster speed than that during the race, but
yeah, we did
really
actually.
Doesn't really matter, does it? It just shows that top speed doesn't necessarily win your races, because Casey Stoner, Loris Capirossi, Ducati have absolutely dominated everything here at Phillip Island. They've won the race, they've won the Constructors' World Championship, they've won the Team World Championship, and of course Casey Stoner won the World Championship just 3 weeks ago at Motegi in Japan. Very, very special indeed as this record crowd start to make their way home, obviously thinking of Australian glory and Casey Stoner.
Yeah, well, it's been a marvellous day. It's been a marvellous weekend, been a marvellous year, and it's just for all of us, whatever nationality, to see this young kid come along and just mature so much. Maturity is probably the wrong word. He had the talent, but he just got the package off that disappointment last year in his opening rookie season. Just to see what has happened is just amazing. As I said to him, it is the start of a real era for him, and I don't mean that just because I'm another Aussie. I think I've seen the making him another champion that's going to be around for a long while.
Very much so. He has had nobody in the same class this season, and the crowd can't wait for him to get onto the podium. I think it's probably a relief for everybody involved with the Grand Prix here that he is on the podium, because I think if they got him on the podium, whatever would have happened. But he's going to be on the podium. He's going to be on the top step of that podium, and it's his 9th Grand Prix victory of the season, and it really has been a truly remarkable time for Casey Stoner, his family, and of course Ducati.
Yeah, they just had the interview for the GPTV here at the local at the circuit that looks after the spectators and all the corporate facilities, and the crowd was just going absolutely nuts when he was having a chat to the interviewer.
The podium now awaits Casey Stoner for the 9th time this season. Well, the top step of the podium for the 9th time this season. And what a day it's been. It stayed dry. We've had a great race. Valentino Rossi now coming in. He's finished on the podium. Shakes hands with Casey Stoner and taps him on the back and says, well done. There's going to be one hell of a battle between those two next season. Already, I think I'm getting excited about it. Riders now onto the podium. 2 rounds of the World Championship remaining. A week's time at Sepang in Malaysia, and then in 3 weeks' time at Valencia in Spain. The riders are ready. Certainly the crowd are ready. They want to welcome home their hero, and he's going to get one hell of a welcome. Valentino Rossi first. In 3rd place, Casey Stoner on that top step in 1st place, and Loris Capirossi in 2nd spot. What an afternoon for the 21-year-old Australian. What an afternoon for his Italian-based Ducati team. Valentino Rossi in 3rd place, never been off the podium here at Phillip Island in the MotoGP class. In 2nd place, Loris Capirossi started winning here at Phillip Island 17 long years ago. But the winner, he's back home, he's world champion, and he's won the Australian Grand Prix. His name, Casey Stoner. And what a day for Ducati. Constructors and teams world champions. Very, very special day for the Italian factory from Bologna in Italy. But now, the moment everybody's been waiting for. Celebrate the winner for the Australian Grand Prix. Celebrate the world title with Casey Stoner. Australia, rise. Amazing scenes here at Phillip Island. Remember those days back in the late 80s, Wayne Gardner, and then in the 90s, Mick Doohan. Now into 2000s, it's Casey Stoner.